Abraham Amaliba has joined us, and he's a legal practitioner. He is with the NDC as well. And Abraham, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, good morning.
I love your colors these days, very bluish and royal blue-like, and you seem to be oozing in some...
I think the topic is about PRC, isn't it?
Yes, yes, please, definitely.
So let's go there.
It's about PRC and an investigative piece put together by Joy News, and indicates that some specified amount and disbursement had been made, etc., in an audit report that were intercepted by Joy News Kwitinati. What do you make of it?
Well, let me say good morning to your viewers and apologize for coming in late. But what does this tell you and I? We have over-concentrated and focused on politicians as being corrupt and left the public servants on a field day. So the politicians are fighting, so they are not taking good care of the public sector workers, and they are now...
You mean their eyes are not there?
Their eyes are not there. So they are now grabbing left and right. And so let's ensure that our lenses zoom on both politicians and civil servants, our public servants. And that's the way to fight it. I heard when I was coming, I heard the accountant there, somebody who was like the accountant there. I think he was being interviewed by Kwitinati, and he indicated that the monies were paid into the executive director's account because it was a Saturday and they needed to engage some activities. That was when they were going around doing this public hearing. And he said that he's a loyal employee. I said, no. You are an employee, but the rules are that you obey lawful instructions. Not that if you're an employee, when your boss says you do anything, you do it. No. What you are entitled to do is to obey lawful instructions. Even in the military, that's how it is. And so he will not be absolved, he himself, because he said that what he did was against the Financial Administration Act. And I think that this one is a clear case of abuse of the rules. But you see, as a nation, what do? Normally, when there are public hearings of the public accounts hearings on the Auditor General's report, we watch it on television, isn't it? But nothing is done. I think that we should move further to do the kinds of things that the Kenya or the Uganda, I think Kenya is doing, where there's a policeman there. Huh? So when the Kenya, when the chairman sees that, no, your matter should be referred to the police station, they'll just let the policeman handcuff you there and send you. I'm sure that alone will be a deterrent. That's
almost like a Chinese style.
No, but you are arrested. They don't let you go home and they look for you again. Use government money to put fuel in petrol, government petrol, and then look for you. You are just there. Cut down cost. Arresting you is easy.
Okay, so the focus of...
And I disagree that we need a public prosecutor first before we can move.
That's a special
this one we don't need. Medina police here can do it. Any policeman can just go, and then they'll investigate this matter. We don't need it. We mustn't wait for a public prosecutor.
But why are you being so hard on this subject?
How do you order that money should be paid into your personal account from a state institution? On what basis? It's not done. Now, do we even know whether you've utilized all the money or there were some coins left in the account? So this is the reason why I have to be very hard, and we should ensure that politicians, public sector workers are not left to plunder their resources, and this is the way to go.
I remember 2 years ago, the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament was sitting, and they said in all, about 4 billion Ghana cedis was lost from disbursements and transactions in MMDAs as well as the various MDAs. It came as a surprise to many people, but at the end of the day, it is not, if you look at the sense of it, it's not the politicians who tend to do the orders and say, because the very chief directors who were there during the NDC period are now, of course, they may be moved based on who likes what, but at the end of it, they still stay in their position, don't they?
Sure. I am even told that ministers don't actually sign checks. They are not part of the signatures. I'm told. I'm yet to verify. But so those who do this signing of the checks are these people that you've mentioned. And so most of the rot, I'm thinking, emanates from them with connivance, maybe with politicians. And so if such huge sums of money are going into people's pockets, then we have no business even being in politics if we cannot supervise those who we are supposed to be supervising for them to do the right things. And I think that PURC is more or less quasi-independent, and so probably because of their independence, this chief executive found a way to do what he did. And I think that there must be some investigations. The Attorney General must look into it.
You are saying special prosecutor, but for now, where do we start? If, let's say, this is a trail that is going as far back as 2013, we're told.
Yeah. I brought in the issue of special prosecutor because some of these things have political coloration. And when you...
The PRC is not...
well, he said it's a quasi public institution. And so you would want to make sure that the government does not have a hand in, quote and unquote, witch hunting anybody. The laws of this country is still in place. And so I agree with you. You don't need to wait for a special prosecutor before you can commence investigation and prosecute if there's any culpability in the stories that had been churned out. And so that is the angle of which I'm coming from. Yeah, but we will really have to go, and not just the PRC. I'm sure that most state institutions and quasi-state institutions have these things. In fact, some high educational institution in this country, if you see the rot and the decisions and the quantum of monies that have been allegedly given away or committed these institutions to undertake, you will marvel. And I hope that we need something drastic. For me, we have no business going to the people to ask for more money to pay electricity if such huge sums of money can be paid into the executive director of the institution that is supposed to regulate the...
430,000 is not much money.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't have it though, but...
Really? You know how much money I need to...
pay your workers?
No. You know how much money I need to renovate a village school I attended in my hometown?
I get your point.
Less than 10,000 is enough. Less than 10,000 is enough to renovate a primary school.
So, but that will just do painting and do nothing.
No, it will not just do painting. It will not just do painting.
Serious?
I'm very serious. I'm going to renovate that. And you see, this amount of money, you go to anybody on the street and tell them that this amount of money was paid into and probably you don't see this as huge.
No, I see it as huge, but I'm saying that within the setting of him being an executive secretary and the positions occupied by the top political people and the elite. I mean, this money is a drop in the ocean.
Really? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that people are in politics to amass such wealth. I mean,
no. I'm not. I'm okay.
Well, but you see, he talked about witch hunting. Witches must be hunted. What do we do to witches? They must be hunted. But in hunting them, follow due process. Okay. Hunt them, but you follow due process. Even in the witches' world, I'm sure there are procedures, there are processes. So let's not hide behind somebody is bleeding this country, is making this country to bleed. Maybe this 435 you are saying is chicken feed. Maybe this is not the first time. If we investigate, we'll get to know that there's something. There's another 2, 3. So that's where the witch hunting must be. The witch hunting must be in such a way that you unravel other things.
And just last week, before the close of the last working week, I made a comment. I went to a certain public institution. You see the building is ramshackled, etc. And I know at least 2 or 3 individuals there who have great houses in East Legon. And I keep saying that, so you people are here, look at the state of the building, but your houses are even more expensive than your public office. And it will not get renovated because they are waiting for government to have an allocation approved for them. But then their small little allocation is siphoned somehow.
Yeah, so you go and look at it, probably monies are being diverted into areas which are insignificant, which are not necessary. You notice that the building is collapsing and they will not do anything until we finally see that
we see it all the time.
Some danger to
anyway, but before you came in, we were talking about the subject of energy, and I want to give you a take on the subject of energy. I know that if I monitor social media and my trends and my threads on social media, I tend to notice that communicators of the past government are raining a lot of accusatory toned language on government and government officials responsible for making sure that we have constant energy supply. And what do you make of it that within the milieu of all this, we have cuts in power supply?
But Roland, isn't it curious that over the period that we had this power doomsday that came just briefly, isn't it curious for you that some of the things they explained to us were the same? Didn't it sound to you that you were hearing an NDC minister, and that we now talking sounded like the MPP?
So now,
when we were proffering those explanations, they said we were incompetent. They said that. Should I say
about
that?
the gas supply, the shortages, the ones not coming from Nigeria, not coming
exactly.
from Ethiopia,
and then shut down to maintain.
Yes.
Are these not what we used to say?
Reminds me of press releases from last year.
The same thing. But they said they had a magic wand. And for them, they have the men. When they come, these matters will cease. I dare say that if we are incompetent in managing the energy sector, they are incapable. I tell them. Because people of this country...
and incapable, they are not same words. So.
They are not same.
One is lighter.
One is lighter. We are lighter because incompetent means that we are not doing it well. But incapable, you cannot even... Untimikra.
Charlie, he's quoted.
Eh?
Facebook page, John is on TV.
See, so for me, people voted for them not to come and hear the same explanations. But you see, it appears we are taking the Ghanaian population and the citizenry as a joke. We seem not to be serious when we are talking to the Ghanaian people. We tell them something, and then when we come to power, we do something else. It is about time.
Meaning what? The reality is the reality. What were you expecting the MPP to do?
When we were proffering those explanations. In fact, let me tell you one. In our time, we said we were buying energy from La Côte d'Ivoire. What they told us was that it is a disgrace. It is shameful for Ghana to be buying what from La Côte d'Ivoire. Is it part of their strategy to buy? The energy minister, Boachi Jaku, says that when it becomes critical, we buy from Côte d'Ivoire. But
we also have to be realistic. Ghana, we have, I believe, about 6 coverage of electricity.
Yeah, expansion.
Yes, and
yes.
Ivory Coast doesn't have. I think they have just about between 40 and 60.
Yes. And so when we were saying all these things, for me, it's déjà vu. Déjà vu in the sense that we've heard all these matters. Now what we want is new things. Dr. Bawumia was everywhere. Oh, this is a matter not technical. This matter is about money. It's about finances. Where is he now today? So for me,
why you want him to be conducting press conferences? He's the vice president
for
of
me,
the
the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia or Safo-Mafu government is not in to do anything better.
Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia or Safo-Mafu government.
Why do you
bring
that?
Osafo-Mafu?
Osafo-Mafu is the de facto prime minister, and he says he's not even reporting to the Bawumia.
Lawyer Malaba,
and he's reporting to
where you are going?
Where you are going? Nana Akufo-Addo. He is the one who flexes muscles when it comes to financial matters.
I do not know what you have against Nana or Safo-Mafu, but whatever it is, I mean, hold your peace. He's not a de facto prime minister. There is nothing like prime minister in our government system.
All right,
and so let's leave it there. But my brother,
I told you you had your take on this.
Yes, but you brought in something that I think I need to quickly resolve. You are claiming that we are listening to the same thing again. I think that as a government, we need to open up everything, every sector of the economy. And going forward, every minister will come out and just give bare what we have actually come to see. What the president did at the State of the Nation address was just a summary of what is to come. Every ministry would open bare the actual situation that we find, sector by sector. Then we'll prefer the solutions that we think. But 2 months into government...
In fact, I love politicians. It's okay. You know, he's undertaking his doctorate at the University of Ghana Business School.
Oh, he has moved
Is
on.
it-
I
he-
thought
he's even teaching there.
he's,
No, he's in business.
the law. He went to do law.
No, no, I didn't do the
Okay.
law. I
You
didn't
didn't
do the
do.
law. I didn't do the
He
law.
thought he wants to be called a PhD person, doctor something. Or Fred Amankwasafo. I'll be very soon though. But we'll be talking about floods, but let's look at this before we, perhaps maybe the time will get us in some difficulty. The EU observer mission in the last election, they want abuse of incumbency sanctioned, but I believe they've also been featured on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. If I, Fred, look whether you can find me the Ghanaian Times. Brilliant, brilliant. So you go to page 16 of the Ghanaian Times. It states that, among others, that they observed that there was abuse of state incumbency, and this was a recurring problem. But more so, they also wanted on campaign finance the need to ensure there was utmost transparency and accountability, and that the EC's capacity to enforce the provisions of the law on political campaign finance should be enhanced, or a responsibility given to another body if deemed appropriate. They also wanted a time period for us to campaign. Just like in the UK, they only have 3 months. So you don't have, let's say, Fred Amankwasafo starting campaign January 2009, or let's say even January 2013 to 2016, and Maliba also starting January 2017 to 2020. You know, that kind of thing. So let's start with you, your thoughts. Let's discuss this.
Well, it's an interesting admonition. I don't know how that sanction will be. I think the people of this country are the regulators. And so when it comes to election, when you abuse, any government that abuses incumbency so much, the people of this country will punish you for it. Unfortunately, those who abuse their incumbency are the same people who must enforce the law. You understand what I mean? Those who are abusing the incumbency, at the time they are
the government in power.
Yes, at the time they are abusing their incumbency, they are the same people who must enforce the law.
That so they are in control of the apparatus, the state apparatus that's supposed to enforce.
Yes, they are in control of the state apparatus that's supposed to enforce the regulations. And so it's a very gray area to traverse. But I think that as a nation, we should pick something. Democracy, for me, it's not our tradition, but we've embraced it, and I think it's an excellent governance system for us. What we tend to not to do is to follow in tandem what happens in other countries. If we want to be democratic, then, and we've copied this from other countries like the EU, the Americans, at least we should be able to bring to bear some of the things that they do when it comes to elections and of this nature. But this country and most African countries are such that we tend to do things outside the law, the rules. Everybody's trying to cut corners here and there to make sure that he receives the maximum advantage. The last election, the incumbent president, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, you could see the wanton dissipation of our state resources when it came to elections. You see cylinders being given out, you see clothes being given, you see a lot of things going on. So yes, our observers, the EU observer mission has a point that the way we are doing things, going about electionary campaign, is so much cost to the states. The budget will be read in a few days' time, and you would see the amount of money that we earmarked to spend in 2016 and what we actually spent. And then the revenue we expected fell so much short of what we had anticipated. So whilst in election year, we are not able to get enough revenue, but we spend above our means. This is not good for our development, and something drastic must be done about it.
But you see,
now, as you continue, let's posit this very well, and then perhaps maybe I should have asked Fred first. If we say abuse of incumbency, can we just situate it within a certain context, and then you add the follow-up as to how can a government not be accused of abusing incumbency?
That's why I was even surprised.
You were about to go there?
Yeah, I was about to go there, and I'm surprised he said, you see, incumbency abuse has been a permanent feature of our democratic process.
Throughout, since the Fourth Republic.
I'm sure, because we were not born in Nkrumah's time, we will not know, but I'm sure it was there too. It is a phenomenon that exists because the power is in your hands. You are likely to abuse it, and you would abuse it. And so it is not just because of what we saw in the last elections that one can say that there's incumbency abuse. It has always been there. I am gratified that this is coming from an independent body, and so I'll take it serious. If this were coming from the MPP, I would say no, because I think that the best way to reform, to bring about reform, is when a similar thing is done to your opponent. Then you know, then the two of you will now come together. I am saddened that the minority in Parliament have said that no placards. I wanted just one placard, one heckling of Nana Akufo-Addo. He couldn't stand it, and he has asked that they should say that there's no placard. As a nation, we should know that what you do. Look at the kind of red cards they gave to Professor Mills. Look at the kind of heckling they gave to John Mahama. But just one, the president could not stand it.
Perhaps we need to start from somewhere.
And I'm saying that do it to the other side. Then we can now come to reason that, oh, we know it's not good. But I'll take this seriously and say that what we need to do now is to put in a law. We did a law for transition. Let's take a law to ensure that we regulate these things so that during elections, during campaigning, what are the things that you have to pay for when you use the state resources? In the US, Air Force One, once you use it for campaigning, you pay for it as a president. You cannot ask the president who is campaigning to use a trotro. That one you can't, because he's still an embodiment of the nation, so you still need to protect him. But there must be a way to compensate the people or even the opposition by way of paying for it. And if there are other facilities you must give to the opposition, now I'm happy that police are given to guard opposition leaders. It used not to be there. So gradually, we'll get to it, and we will all come to the point that we will need to ensure that there's fairness and, on the playing field, and then we will can move forward.
Now, if we take the situation of the UK, where I remember for last year's elections, they campaigned, or was it last 2 years or last year's election? They campaigned for 3 months, between May, June, and July, and then they convened their election.
Brother, that is a worrying thing for Ghana. In Ghana, the day they declare the election
because
results,
even the NDC, they haven't started campaigning yet.
But we are campaigning. What I'm doing is campaigning.
I know, but
the day they declare the election result, the following day campaigning starts in Ghana.
yes.
So you don't give the government any briefing space to even begin to think, because they will have to be reacting. They have to be reacting. I think that, yes, it's also a good thing. It's also a good thing. Both of us have faced it. That one, I'm sure, if we propose it, we'll all agree that for the first 3 months, that's part of the 100 days, you have to give this a government honeymoon. But come to think of it, for us, there's no briefing space. And so if you are in government, you are always looking behind your shoulders to see what your opponent will say whilst focusing on the job. That, for me, is not the best. So that is also another thing that I think we should
And I
consider.
just wanted to even draw our attention to all the, for example, Fred Amankwa-Safo's narrative has changed in terms of the content of his narrative. Just like you look at the summation of perhaps the criticism against the John Mahama-led administration on social media, etc., and all of a sudden this has died down and seemed to have now turned around in a certain way.
Yeah.
But at what point do you think that within the milieu of all the things that they were saying, the state also needs to make sure that it comes in and say, this is an independent institution that is going to make sure, well, as far as finances are concerned, Party A gets 10 million Ghana cedis in an election year, Party B gets 20 million Ghana cedis based on its representations or perhaps its own functionalities in the country, and then also how they get access to state media, how they get access to state facilities if they have to use them, etc., etc.
Yes, it's good if we can get there. We've tried it before, but I people would think that we should have political financing regulations sort of, but I don't really think that for the...
You should go and do your own lobbying for funding?
Yes, you should find a way of funding your campaign. If we open the floodgates, everybody will come in. The last time we had a lot of parties coming in, and if we say, okay, government or the state would finance you, but who sits on the states? It's the government. And if the government itself is also campaigning, then, like my brother said, you cannot ask the president to pick. He would have to steal you because he is in government and he is the president at the time. If he's campaigning for re-election, then it is difficult to decouple him and then from a person as a flag bearer. But if we cannot do that to the president, then on what basis are we able to do that to the minister or to the district chief executive or to anybody who holds a government appointment? Okay, so I hope that we are going to do some things different. If we're going to be democratic in the right sense of it and want a level playing field for all political parties to engage the people of this country, then we need to do some things differently. Where the abuse, I mean, incumbency advantage is always there. It's always been there. If the president is going somewhere, the media will follow the president. Okay, so if the state media is giving so much coverage to the president, is it being given because he's a president or because he's a flag bearer for a political party? These issues are very difficult to decouple. And so we should find a way out. But if you say the state should, the state is
so
manned by
for example, let's
people.
take the last elections.
Yeah.
The outboard motors were distributed and part of government programming, but of course, well timed to coincide with the last leg of the electioneering. That is not an abuse in a way.
Yeah,
but then it's a disadvantage to the opposition, is that not it?
Well, I don't think it was disadvantage. At least we won the election, so that feat didn't really pan out well for the government.
Just in case you don't win, it's a disadvantage.
But what we can do as a nation is that, okay, giving freebies during election campaigns should be. Why should even government give freebies to start with? Okay, if you think that this group of people need outboard motors or these farmers need fertilizer or whatever.
Why do you say they are freebies?
They are freebies because, I mean, if you look at the cost of outboard motor and...
But they help in improving employment situation for fisherfolk.
Exactly. So you wait until November to the election before you do that. I mean, you've been in government for 4 years. So when did you realize that the fisher folks need outboard motors that you go and give?
Are you promising it's not going to be repeated by the Kufuor government?
No, it's not going to be repeated.
Of course, not outboard motor, but in some form.
It's not going to be repeated, especially if we have to do something. It is in the budget form. You see, you cannot do things that are outside the budget. And
were these outside the budget? These were statutory government programs. Only they've been timed to coincide with the period of the election.
No. If you look at the amount of money that we earmark, we told ourselves in the budget, 2016 budget, to spend, and what we actually spent, you would realize that a lot more monies were spent that were not budgeted for. And some of these things really come to mind, that these monies were paid. You buy an outboard motor for, let's say, X amount of money, and then you give it out X minus so much, X minus Y. What are you doing? These are freebie because we are not getting the market value of the outboard motors. I'm not saying that we don't have to give outboard. If you have to give outboard motors even for free, but when it comes to election year, you are doing this. Yes, you might be doing it right, but let's think about even run the expenditure the expenditure side of our budget and see whether we've really factored it in. If we have factored it in from the beginning of the year, the succeeding year's budget is read in November. So, for example, if you put all these expenditure in the November budget that was read for the preceding year, then you have a cost. But November, December, giving outboard motors and giving freebies and distributing gas cylinders.
So you're saying that one district, one factories. We're not going to see in 2020 inauguration of one district, one factories in November or in October of 2020.
You see,
what we're told that, oh, you gave us 4 years for us to fulfill our mandate.
I hope not. I hope if we have to.
Now you're hoping not.
Yes, because I think that we should do things right in November, December. If it is in our budget for November, you're talking about November 2020. If it's in our budget, if it's in the 2020 budget, and you are doing it and you are rolling
it, may be in this year's budget. It will be taken to the next year's budget.
No, we shouldn't do that. We should, for me, 6 months into the election, we should stop giving freebies. We should stop doing things that can be interpreted or misinterpreted.
Have you gotten a governmental position yet?
No, I haven't.
That's why you're talking like this.
Why?
You're talking like a plain NGO man. It doesn't work that way.
No. Well.
Dr. Freda Mankwasafo. Doesn't.
I am not the doctor.
Yeah,
I'm not the doctor yet.
but prospective.
But you see, this hardball motors he's talking about.
This is just an example.
If he didn't know, was a Ministry of Fisheries.
No,
project.
that's why I'm saying that it's a program.
It's a budget.
Yes.
But if you have a problem with the timing, that is.
The time is questionable, isn't it?
That's why I'm saying that if he has a problem with the timing, he can concentrate on that. But there were no freebies. There were no freebies. There were no freebies. It has been a long-standing fisheries program.
But how do you call it when they are labeled and nicely captured? And
no. They are not. They were not labeled in NDC.
But
they have perhaps some of the accoutrements have the stickers of the president, etc.
I'm saying that those things can be seen as an overstretch, but the outboard motors themselves were budgeted for. Now, much as we condemn incumbency abuse, we are not recognizing something on the other side, which is the opposition side, where at the same time that the government was giving out these outboard motors, Dr. Bawumia was also renovating schools and buying blocks and buying chairs for schools up north. How do you compare that? Or how do you consider that? That you can be talking about incumbency abuse, but when the minority also, and even during that period, the first lady now, then the candidate's wife, was also going around distributing parcels. So don't concentrate on only.
So
and
right
it doesn't
now,
matter.
it means that in 2020, if the first lady, Rebecca Kufuor, goes around also doing, let's say, her charity kind of work, which she did in the last election, that could be an abuse.
That could be.
You can declare that as an abuse. But when she's in opposition, it's not an abuse.
It's not an abuse, but it's vote buying. It's vote buying. Because it is not the resource of the state they are using.
Yeah.
That's the distinction. Yeah. In this one, you have the state resources being used for political gains. But in their case, they are buying people to vote for them. And I'm saying that both are wrong.
I see. Yeah. I'm happy that you've made the correction. When Dr. Bawumia was doing that, Dr. Bawumia did not have his budget coming from government. Okay, and so he's a private person who has the.
Which one? The boreholes.
The boreholes and the chairs and the schools and the malls.
That's also vote buying.
Well, I don't know about
you should know about that
I don't know about vote
because
buying.
somebody in that community will now vote for Dr. Bawumia and his party, not because they think that government is not doing well, but because water has been brought to them by Dr. Bawumia.
That is what your research has come out with. Is that what your research has come out with?
It's obvious.
Because people, the voting decisions are very complex.
I have done campaign before. I've gone to primaries before. And I know people who said that.
Decisions are very complex.
Who said
so
that
if you have made a research,
a certain parliamentary candidate came to do this for them, and that's why they voted for him.
Oh, so that's vote buying.
Yes, that's vote buying.
Well, okay, you have made your research and think that this is vote buying. What the EU Observer Mission is advocating is the abuse of incumbency.
Okay.
And that is what we are discussing here.
I'm also stretching it.
All right. Within the politics of all this, Ghana is 60. And so we'll be having the event on the 6th of March. Tomorrow is the first March, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so on Thursday, we're going to have the budget. No problem. We'll be in Parliament. But this is